This video was brought to you by Brilliant. If you're not German, you probably never heard of Sahra Wagenknecht. But inside Germany, Wagenknecht's outspoken views on everything from Ukraine to identity politics have made her one of the most recognizable and popular politicians in the country. And Wagenknecht is an interesting politician who's both left-wing on economics, but conspicuously right-wing on social issues. She thinks, for example, that identity politics distracts the left from the real needs of Germany's working class, and that Germany needs to significantly restrict external immigration. But ultimately, it's her foreign policy that's garnered her the most attention from international press. She's called for an end to sanctions on Russia, an end to arms shipments to Ukraine, and in 2017 called for NATO to be dissolved. Nonetheless, provisional polling suggests that Wagenknecht's new party would immediately be one of the most popular parties in Germany, especially in the East. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Left Party, why Wagenknecht might be leaving, and how her party could end up disrupting German politics. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. So, to understand this story, you need to understand a little bit about the Left Party. The Left Party was formed in 2007 as a merger between two other parties. The Party of Democratic Socialism, which was the successor to the Marxist-Leninist Party that ruled East Germany until 1990, and the Electoral Alternative, which was basically an offshoot of the Social Democrats, led by Oskar Lafontaine, a well-known Social Democrat who thought that the party had become too economically right-wing under then-Chancellor Gerhard Schröder. Now, we talked about this in our recent video on the German economy, but the TLDR is that in the early 2000s, Schröder announced a series of quite right-wing economic reforms designed to get the German economy out of its post-reunification funk, and then formed a grand coalition with the centre-right Christian Democrats to get these reforms through. Now, a lot of SPD voters saw this as a sort of betrayal, and it created a rift between Schröder and Lafontaine, the two big beasts in Social Democrat politics at the time, which eventually caused Lafontaine to quit and start his own party. Now, in part because the Left Party is this combination of Marxists and Social Democrats, there have always been divisions within the party. But as we see it, there are broadly two fault lines. Firstly, there's the split between what you might call as the moderates and the radicals. As the name suggests, the moderates are generally more centrist economically and think that the left should moderate its policy platform to help it get into government via coalitions with other left-wing parties like the SPD and the Greens. The radicals, on the other hand, are more left-wing economically and are generally less keen on compromising their leftist ideals, even if it reduces their chances of getting into government. Secondly, there's also a split between those who think the party should focus on social justice and what we might describe as identity politics, and those who think that identity policies are essentially just a distraction, and that the party should focus on German workers. Anyway, over the last couple of years, the former group has essentially won, and the Left Party has become more focused on issues of identity politics and social justice. And ultimately, this provoked some dissent from the latter group, especially from Left Party MP Sahra Wagenknecht. As I mentioned in the intro, Wagenknecht is an interesting character. She originally wanted to be an academic, focusing on philosophy or economics, but she got into politics after the fall of the Berlin Wall. She then became a member of the Bundestag in 2009, and soon became a household name, appearing regularly on talk shows with fellow left-wing bigwig Oskar Lafontaine, whom she then married in 2011. In 2015, she became the co-leader of the Left's parliamentary group, and promptly made her mark on the party. For example, before the 2017 federal election, she pushed through a radical left-wing manifesto, which many analysts thought ruled the left out from a future coalition with the SPD. When asked about this, she told DW, "I want to govern, but I do not want to practice neoliberal politics or, quote, predatory capitalism." She's also staunchly opposed to identity politics, and even wrote a book in 2021 called The Self-Righteous, where she argued that the Left Party was now full of identity politics-obsessed lifestyle leftists. In her book, which reached the #1 spot on Der Spiegel's non-fiction charts, she argues that the lifestyle leftists are neither left-wing nor liberal. They're not left-wing because it mainly appeals to well-off urban university graduates instead of the German working class. And they're not liberal because they're intolerant to other people's views, and quotas and diversity targets apparently imply an unequal treatment of different groups. So instead of focusing on diversity, Wagenknecht argues that the Left Party should be focused on the needs of the German workers, both by limiting immigration, which apparently undercuts German wages, and by redistributing wealth. To do this, Wagenknecht advocates for some pretty left-wing economic policies. In fact, she argues that corporations are stoking inflation by protecting their profit margins, so recommends that the government impose price caps on certain goods. And she also wants to improve Germany's labour laws and push up wages. For context, despite being one of the wealthiest countries in the world, German wages are actually pretty low. In fact, today, nearly 30% of jobs in Germany are part-time, twice what it was in the 90s. And a report by the German government found that if you account for taxes and social benefits, the median German household income was actually lower in 2013 than it was in 1999. On top of all of these other economic policies, she also wants to scrap Germany's super tight debt rules to fund infrastructure investment. It's not just the economy either. In terms of foreign policy, though, Wagenknecht takes a rather different tack, wanting to reverse the West sanctions on Russia, which she claims aren't working. And a couple of days before the invasion, she even published a peace manifesto, which essentially called for Germany and NATO to stop sending aid to Ukraine and instead sue for peace. Wagenknecht has also argued that NATO ought to be dissolved and claimed that Germany has become too dominant in the EU. Anyway, Wagenknecht's views and profile have made her one of the most popular politicians in Germany, and in fact, she's far more popular than the Left Party itself, which is currently polling at a measly 5%. As such, her public criticism of the party and her personal appeal has fueled constant, reoccurring rumours that she could start her own party, an idea which was apparently confirmed in an exclusive by Bild last week. Now, Wagenknecht is yet to validate the report herself, but if she were to start her own party, it would be pretty huge news. An economically left-wing but socially right-wing Wagenknecht party would actually occupy a pretty unique space in German politics, and hypothetical polling from Bild suggests that it would garner about 15% of the vote right off the bat. This polling also shows that Wagenknecht is especially popular with AfD voters and voters in the East, with another poll from July finding that Wagenknecht would actually win in her home state, with her and the AfD getting a combined vote of nearly 50%. Clearly, if this would happen then, it would significantly shake up German politics and threaten Germany's, and therefore Europe's, support for Ukraine. Now, you just spent around 8 minutes watching a video to help you learn more about the world around you. And that feels good, right? Well, that's the feeling you get from spending time learning and bettering yourself. And if you want to do this more, then we have good news. Long-term sponsor of the channel, Brilliant, are giving the first 200 people who click our link 20% off their annual premium subscription. Now, Brilliant is an interactive online learning platform which is full of all kinds of courses which can help you improve your career and further your understanding of the world. They have more than 100 courses on everything from predicting with probability to how technology works to the concept of infinity. And these may sound like topics you need to dedicate a lot of your time to, but you really don't. With Brilliant, you can master big concepts in as little as 15 minutes a day, and you can do this anywhere, anytime. You can find our link in the description to get that special offer. And as always, thanks for watching, and thank you to Brilliant for supporting TLDR.